ॐ ज्ञानं तिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदन्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपां साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तु ते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वञ्चकल्पातरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। So I could not remember. Did we finish chapter 14 last time or 15?
14th Prabhu.
14 Prabhuji.
Okay. Yes, I was because I do a Friday evening class also. We're kind of that's in person, and we're also in that similar area, so I can get confused. So this is chapter 15, Bhagavad Gita, Purushottama Yoga, the yoga of the Supreme Person. So we just finished the month of Purushottam. Unfortunately, we couldn't cover this chapter in that month, but this is the post month of Purushottam. We are now reading the Purushottam Yoga chapter, and this is the shortest chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and I believe chapter 12 is the same number of verses. So both are the shortest chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, only about 20 verses, and very powerful, very wonderful chapter. Actually, it's very deep. As we see, all of Krishna's words are so deep. So this is the main theme. What is the main theme of chapter 15? One can be freed from entanglement within the material world by cultivating a transcendental desire to enter into the spiritual world. So we cannot really become free from entanglement in this world or our attachment to this world unless we cultivate a desire to enter the spiritual world. Until we know about what the spiritual world is and we develop a hankering to go to the spiritual world. Someone may say, well, a devotee doesn't want anything. Devotee doesn't desire anything for himself. So how would we desire this? No, the spiritual world is a place, but it's also a state of consciousness. The spiritual world is a world of service to Krishna. So when we cultivate the intense hankering to serve Krishna eternally outside of the bounds of the material body, in the spiritual world or in any place Krishna wants, but basically in the consciousness of the spiritual world, then we get free from the entanglement of this material world. So chapter 15 has different parts. The first part describes this world. What is the nature of this world that we want to become free of? Like I think we were discussing last time, that Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti Yoga lead to the same goal, but they do it by different methods. Sankhya Yoga analyzes this world and identifies what we are not. So Bhumir, Apo, Nala, Vayu, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego, 24 elements. One by one, the yogis, by meditating on it, they peel off each covering. I'm not this. I'm not earth. I'm not the water. I'm not the air that I breathe. I'm not, my mind that I'm so, or intelligence that I'm so proud of. And so if I'm none of these things, what is left is the pure spirit soul. So by understanding the nature of this world, we can transcend it. So the first 5 verses, Krishna describes this world, which is a major theme of this chapter, the upside down banyan tree. Then he talks about our entanglement in this world, the transmigration of the soul from text 6 to 11. Then he talks about how Krishna is behind it. Krishna is the maintainer of all the 3 worlds. And then in the final verses, 3 verses, we had a Chatur-shloki Gita. We have the famous 3 shloka Gita, and the entire Bhagavad Gita in 3 verses. So this is so nice. Krishna, it's the scriptures and Krishna, they give us shortcut after shortcut, and they keep making us more and more shortcuts, hoping that we'll take one of the shortcuts. So he gives us a 4-verse Gita, then he's giving us, even if 4 is too long, a 3-verse Bhagavad Gita. And so in 3 verses, we can become self-realized. So here's the first verse. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Urdhvam Moolam Madha Shakam Ashvatham Prahuravyayam Chandangsi Yasya Parnani Yastam Veda Savedavit. In terms of these verses, actually, if you have a desire to memorize a chapter of the Gita, this is a nice chapter to memorize because it's only 20 verses. And my kids actually are in the process of memorizing this chapter. The older one hasn't memorized, the younger one is getting it. It's very nice for children, and they love reciting it because it's short, and it's one of the most powerful chapters of the Gita. Many people, they recite the 15th chapter of the Gita. And if you read the purports, the classes, the course, as I mentioned many times, is just an excuse to read Srila Prabhupada's books. It's an excuse to get us to actually study the books. So some people, they come for the classes, but it's very hard to find time to read. They're not able to read. But actually, it should be the opposite way. The more important part is actually reading the purports. Prabhupada's purports are so powerful in this chapter. And the verses are so deep. You think, oh, this is just, technical knowledge. But if you actually read it, it's so amazing. Translation. The Supreme Personality of God, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. So, where in the world do we see an upside down tree? The picture is a big hint. Where do we see an upside down tree?
Reflected in a pond.
Yes, very nice. It's we see a upside down tree in a reflection. That's the only place where we see it. So the world that Krishna must be talking about is the world of reflection. It's a reflection world, which is the material world. And this reflection world is upside down. That's the nature, the very nature of our reflection. Everything in this world is the opposite. And that's what Prabhupada writes in these purports. If we won't have time, but when you read them, Prabhupada says everything is upside down. What is the highest in the spiritual world is the lowest in this world. The highest relationship is the unwedded relationship between Radha and Krishna, and the gopis and Krishna. The most exalted, and that becomes the most abominable thing in this world. The unwedded, you could say, illicit relation between men and women. And you think, how is that then possible that it's so exalted in the spiritual world? But that's the nature, right? What is most beautiful becomes the most perverted in this world. So, in that way, the material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. In other ways as well, and Krishna goes on explaining more. The branches of this tree extend downward and upward, nourished by the three modes of material nature. The twigs are the objects of the senses. This tree also has roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive actions of human society. The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and there surrender to that supreme personality of Godhead, from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial. So this is like Lord Brahma's experience when he's born from the lotus. He's born on this lotus in the middle of the causal ocean, and he can't figure out, where am I? Why am I here? Imagine being born in an island in the middle of the ocean, just a little island, like 10 feet wide, and you're perfectly safe, but you don't know why you're there. You have no friends. You don't know left or right. So then, desperate to find his origin, he travels down the stem of the lotus. So the lotus stem is hollow, and he goes down and he walks, it said, for like thousands of years, a huge amount of time, and not finding the end of it, he goes back up and returns back to the lotus. And once he returns, then he hears one sound, which is tapa, tapa, which means austerity, perform austerity. So this is Krishna saying, but with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree. No one can understand where it ends and where it begins. Like Brahma could not understand, where does this flower start? Where does this stem start? It's such a long stem. Where does it begin? What is its foundation? So through his efforts and his own intelligence, he could not perceive its origin. But then the path was given to him. That is austerity, which takes a lot of determination. And here 2 times, Prabhupada is talking about determination and then detachment, with a weapon of detachment. So this banyan trees are particularly very powerful, very strong trees. No tree like the banyan tree. One tree can be 1 square kilometer. Imagine like a square mile. So long, that can be 1 tree. This is how strong they are. And each banyan stick is so strong, right? Banyan wood is used, for so many things because it's so solid, and a whole forest of it. And it gets all entangled because the branches come down as roots. And very impossible to get out. If you're in the middle of it, to get out of the banyan tree is very difficult. So you need an axe. And with a strong axe and with very great determination, you can cut down all the wood and the branches and find a way out. So that is the weapon. What is that axe? It is detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns. And here Prabhupada explains this. He says that once you go back to the spiritual world, he explains in the purport, we never return again. It's just one life of struggle, one life of service and surrender to Krishna. And then we never have to worry about this problem again, falling into this material world again, about death, pain, suffering, theft, um, um, uh, disease, none of it. We never return. In fact, Prabhupada explains in other places and this place as well. In fact, we never leave the spiritual world. Some people say we've always been in the material world. Prabhupada is saying, and scriptures are saying, actually, we've never left the spiritual world. We only dream that we leave the spiritual world. Prabhupada explains that the soul is in the spiritual world, and the desire comes in its mind. Let me enjoy. Let me be the center of all enjoyment. What would it be like if I am Krishna? And we have that thought, and we close our eyes. And then millions and millions of births we take in this material world, which is literally a dream world. This is the way how the Bhagavatam describes this world. It's a swapna, a dream. And we're here for millions of lifetimes. And once we learn our lesson thoroughly, we are completely, frustrated with the material world, and we attain detachment and then attachment for Krishna, deep attachment for Krishna. Then, when we're ready, we open our eyes, we find ourselves in the spiritual world. That same spot. Just we just like got frozen. So that's all it is. It's not even a moment from a spiritual perspective. Now, someone may say, well, we already left the world, right? It's so to say, we didn't actually leave, but we went into the dream world. We can go in again, right? We made that mistake once. We were in the spiritual world. We were fully liberated. We were with Krishna. And we made that mistake. So what stops us from making that mistake again? Krishna here is saying, having gone there, one never returns. And thus surrender unto me. From time immemorial, everything is beginning from me. Just surrender and you will never return. But how can we be sure that we will never return? We made that mistake once. Why can we not make it again? Anyone want to answer this question? There's no wrong answer. Just
Just Prabhuji, faith on the Krishna always.
So Krishna is promising that once you return, you'll never come back again. So his promise means a lot. What else?
Association of devotees. Pure
Yes,
devotees.
but we had the Pure Devotee Association in the beginning also, before we fell down. So we could have association again and we could make the same mistake again. But good.
Oh wait, desire no desire to lord it over material nature.
Yes.
And one more thing, Prabhuji, like whatever we are doing the service, like the Nama inside and Seva outside. So always do the name of the Krishna inside and do the Seva outside. So you will be detachment of the material world, because always we are remembering the Krishna in Nama inside.
Yes. These are all very nice answers.
Prabhu, I think maybe because when we are in Bhakti Yoga, when we are doing the devotional service, there are no good and bad karma we gain, right? So
Yes.
maybe that's why, we'll go back.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, that's why we go back. Once we're here, once we are engaged in Bhakti Yoga, we break out of the cycle. We're on the transcendental level, no good and bad karma. My question is that when we were in the spiritual world, we were engaged in pure devotional service, pure bhakti, so no good and bad karma. As Om said, we were in the association of devotees, no fruit of actions. Yet we we're in the spiritual world, our philosophy tells us, and we slipped into the material world, right? Into the deep dream.
Krishna's desire.
Yeah. But then if we are working very hard and cultivating our bhakti, and we go back to the spiritual world, then we're also engaged in pure devotional service, associating with devotees. What stops us from desiring, of going back into the material world when we've already made that desire once?
Ah,
Yashoda, you mentioned Krishna's desire, but Krishna, some people say this is actually a false philosophy, that some people say that we came here because Krishna wanted us to fall into this material world so that he could exercise his saving potency. He puts us into the material world. But if Krishna is the most compassionate person, why will he desire something that is bad for us, that brings us so much suffering? So that by itself also cannot be the reason why we come to this material world. Anandini Gopika Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I feel like, when we touch or when we come in contact with fire, we get the burn. And then we're like, we're not doing that again. So I feel like that experience, initially we desired, oh yeah, we will lord it over everything and that would be great. We come here, we see the suffering, experience it. We get to go back. Then any sane person would not desire to go back into the fire again, is my thinking.
Yes, very nice. Yes, so we still have our free will. We had our free will in the beginning, and because of that, we made the wrong decision. We made the choice to come to this material world. And once we go back, we also have our free will. That we have not lost. Theoretically speaking, Prabhupada says is we can fall back down because everyone has freedom. We can come back down. However, it never happens. We will not return to this world. Why? Because of the experience. And why can we be so sure that we have experienced enough that we won't want to come back down? Because this is the part we were discussing before in our in-person class that we do here, that because this material world is so imperfect, but it's created by Krishna, so it must be perfect. So how can it be perfect? Because it is perfect for its purpose. The material world is perfect for its purpose. What is the purpose of this world? It is to rectify the soul. This world is a prison house, Krishna says. What is the purpose of a prison? Actually, another name of the prison is a correctional institution. The purpose is to correct those who go in. Now, because in this material world we have imperfect people and imperfect prisons, and people go in the prison, and when they come out, then after some time they steal again, they go back again. But Krishna's correctional institution is perfect. Once we go in and once we come out, we've learned our lesson so well that we can never make that mistake again. Why? Because the material world is perfect for its purpose. It teaches us so well that we will never make that mistake ever again. And that's why, in addition to all the things that were mentioned, we never come back to this material world again. The soul learns its lesson. One time we can make the mistake, but we don't make it again. So this is something very wonderful. This is why we want to move beyond this tree. Srila Prabhupada explains that inverted trees can be seen only when they are reflected in water. Just as a reflection of a tree can be situated in the water of a river, the spiritual world, reflected on the water of self-centered desire, becomes the illusory material world. So what is the nature of a reflection? The reflection has the characteristic of the tree that it reflects, but it also has the characteristic of the thing that it is reflected on. So what is the spiritual world reflected on that it becomes the material world? That is self-centered desire, Prabhupada explains. Self-centered desire. That's the whole material world. And that brings about the illusory tree. So okay. So now I want to look a little deeply into this metaphor. Krishna's using a metaphor of the banyan tree and the metaphor of the reflection of the banyan tree. So in what ways, and this is slightly different than the question that's written on the slide, but let's answer this question first. In what ways is the reflection tree similar to or different from the actual tree? In other words, the material world is a reflection tree. So in what ways is a reflection? Just think about a reflection right now, not the material world, but just a reflection tree in relation to the actual tree. In what ways is it different? Maybe someone can mention a few.
Maybe if the water moves, the reflection will also seem to move, but the tree
Yes.
will always remain the same.
Yes, so with the movement of the water, the reflection becomes agitated, which is very true. The reflection also moves.
The reflection shows the illusion. So if I block the upper part, the actual tree, and just focus on the reflection, so it's the illusion. And then I see that, okay, that's the true, that's the real tree, but it is not. So that is material world. We see, we are under the illusion and we see that, okay, this is true. This is real world.
Mm. Mm. Yes, yes. So the nature of reflection, like you said, is that it is inherently um, dependent on that which is independent. So I so the fact that um, the world is see after I mean while we're in the banyan tree, we don't realize that it's illusory until we get out, right? Because um, it seems very real to us. But what we can realize is that it's by looking at the nature of this world is that it's it's not self effulgent or self standing. It's dependent upon something else. It's unreal in the sense that it is temporary. So it's the temporary is dependent upon the permanent, and that we can understand. Yes. So one of the qualities of a reflection it is illusory. Now it's not completely unreal, because Ramanujacharya said that an unreal thing cannot be an object of experience. So there must be some reality. But it is unreal in the sense that it is temporary. The reflection is very temporary as opposed to the actual tree. Like you see, a reflection comes and goes, right? Unlike a tree which stays there, a reflection comes and goes and very quickly. And in the same way, this material world, like you were saying, it's illusory because it comes and goes relative to the permanent world. Yes. So that's a very nice point. So it's dependent, it's affected by what is reflected upon. Um, what else? Compare in your mind the reflection and the actual tree. What else is similar and what else is different?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. It depends on the, the quietness of the surface of the water, right? If it's wavy, we won't be able to see the true reflection.
Yes, very nice. And the reflection, this is expanding to what you're saying, lacks the qualities of this material world, of the actual tree, right? The reflection lacks the qualities completely of the actual tree. In the same way, the material world lacks the qualities of the spiritual world. So when you see a reflection, you see a form. but you don't hear anything, like you're saying, right? You don't smell anything. It's just the form. That's all it is. But the actual tree has so many other uh, multifaceted factors. One is a form, but maybe inside there's some birds and they're chirping. The leaves are shuffling, right? The tree may have a smell. It may produce a sap called maple syrup. There may be beautiful birds sitting in the trees. There may be uh, it's a rainy day and the tree is sheltering like an umbrella so you don't get wet under the rain. All of these different sensory aspects are there in the actual tree, but they're missing in the reflection tree. In the same way, we are in this material world and we're thinking that we're having the full experience. I have these five senses, touch, taste, all these things, and obviously I am fully knowledgeable and cognizant and enjoying, but we don't know, or we do know that the sensory experience in this world is so limited compared to that in the spiritual world. Here we think these five senses are all in all, but maybe there's 10 more senses, facets that the soul has that in this material world it cannot access because we don't have the eyes to see the Lord. We don't have the eyes to see the spiritual world. Just like if a blind person goes to London, right, and they're visiting London, then as they're visiting London, they will see everything that a person who's not blind not see. They will experience everything that a person who's not blind will also experience. However, for them, London will just be sounds, tastes, smells. The same London is there, but they don't see the form of it. Or another example, if a person is deaf, like they're deaf, they're seeing everything, all these things, but they will think, oh, actually, these red buses are so nice because they don't make any sound, right? So they are experiencing the whole London, but on mute, right? They can see the buses, they can speak to the drivers, they can embrace them and everyone, but they cannot um, hear anything. So that is the nature of this world. How the reflection is similar to, but yet very different from the actual thing. So our experience right now is so dull in the material world. It's kind of like if you went to a pond and you were hugging the reflection tree. You're diving into the reflection tree. What pleasure of the tree would you get? And that is our situation in the material world. Very superficial, shallow, very little pleasure also. The existence of this world implies the existence of the spiritual world because it is inherently dependent. A reflection cannot exist by itself. A reflection must be reflecting. A reflection must be reflecting something real. So the fact that this world is a reflection and it is an object of our experience, so it is also real. What it's reflecting must be so real and so wonderful. The real form of the banyan tree of this material existence cannot be understood in this world. So furthermore, this banyan tree is unlimited. Even the material world is far beyond our, sensory capabilities. So these are the different parts of this banyan tree. It's reflected on desire, Krishna says, right? So one person's tree may be different than another. If we're in the mode of ignorance, then that water is very mucky. And when the reflection comes, it will be very dark. It's the same reflection, but it's become very not appreciable when we are not in light, when we're in the mode of ignorance. Its roots are moving upward, urdhva moolam, adharshakam. Adharshakam, the roots are going down. Now, normally we don't see a a tree like this, right? The roots are down and the leaves go up. But here it's the opposite. Then we
Where
have,
are we on this tree, Prabhuji? Like, I mean to say, where are we with respect to this tree?
where are the residents of the mature world on this tree? I mean, the whole reflection tree is the mature world, right? So so we may be anywhere. That's a good point. So this is what Krishna is then describing. So this is the question he's answering. So the fruits of the tree are dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So if we are pursuing the fruits, where we're after the nice, juicy fruits, like the forbidden apple, right, in the Christian tradition, then we are pursuing dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, Krishna is saying. If we are just into sense objects, let's go to Walmart and buy the whole store, that is the twigs. If we are interested in, I forget exactly what it was, what is the twigs and branches? Then we are, well, the twigs are the sense objects, and the tips of the branches are the senses, right? So with our senses, we're trying to enjoy this material world, and that's compared to the tips of the branches. The leaves are the Vedic hymns. So if we're into karma kanda, high ritual, then we are sitting at one of the leaves, and this is the anatomy of this reflection tree.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and so if we are into karma kanda, then we're in the leaves, all these, where we are different places in this reflection tree. But our goal is to go back to the real tree. The reality is in the spiritual world. The material world is a reflection. Right?
Hare Krishna,
Yeah.
Prabhu. Can I interrupt and ask you a quick
Sure.
question?
Yes.
So Krishna says, Dukkalayam ashashvatam asukam anityam. Right? It's a impermanent place
Yes.
or temporary place, right? But if we say it's a what do you call? It's not a reality. Are we aligning with Mayavadi principles, or how do we understand that? Because it's a real physical world. It's a physical reality, and spiritual world is spiritual reality.
Yes.
It's not like an illusion, right? I mean, for analogy, it's good, but in real sense, I mean, we'll be going into the Mayavadi principles, right? If we adopt this concept, I mean, we need to adapt. Krishna said that, but should we say that this world is unreal?
Yes. So Ramanujacharya explains that something that is an object of experience can never be unreal. Right? It cannot be fully unreal, because otherwise, how can you experience it? So, like you're saying, because we experience this world, it is real. Yet, the Bhagavatam also explains that that which has a beginning and an end, that which is temporary, not our Krishna consciousness, because that continues forever, but our material activities, they are unreal. Because if something is temporary, in that sense, it is unreal. It is unreal in the sense that it is temporary, and things that are temporary are ultimately unreal. Why? Think about it. If something has a beginning and an end, once it ends, it has no factual existence. It had some existence at that time, but it has no factual existence because it's going to end anyway. Right? So the scriptures are using the word unreal and real in a contextual way, right? Just like we gave this example before, like I have a son, he's 6 years old, and I may tell him, you're always getting into trouble. Right? You're always naughty. You're always dropping the milk on the ground. Now, I'm saying he always does that, but it's not that he's always pouring the milk on the ground and he's always no, that word is being used in the sense of regularly. You are, regularly doing this. That's why. So in the same way, in terms of this issue and the fall of the jiva and everything, we cannot say that they are, that it is always unreal, this world. And no, it is real for some time, but if it is temporary, right, it is then anitya. It is not nitya, it is not eternal. And therefore, in that way, it is a lesser reality, is a lesser reality. Does that answer your question, Prabhu? It's a very good question.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Just like in a dream, right? A dream, no one takes it seriously because it has a beginning and an end. Now, of course, everything in life does, but the dream has it very quickly. And though it is real, we know that it's real, we experience it at night, but we think that it's false because even if we win a castle in our dream and we have, a whole, amazing, happy situation, and in the dream we lose it, when we come out of the dream, no one cries and says, oh, I lost my beautiful white horses and my castle in my dream. I had such an amazing castle and I lost. No one says that because they know it's temporary, it's unreal anyway. The castle that I experienced in the dream world has no factual existence. Sorry. Okay. Just like if you have to keep yourself, the legs are up and the head down. Somebody keeps you like this. How long you will feel comfortable? If someone takes your legs and catches you, your head down, then it is not very comfortable. So this whole material world is like that. Urdhva Moolam. The Moolam should have been down, but it is up. Therefore, it is uncomfortable. Right? Prabhupada is saying such a nice thing. He's saying the material world is such an uncomfortable situation, such an awkward situation. Prabhupada says the material world and the material body is an embarrassment to the soul. The soul is so beautiful, healthy, its natural position is to be so perfect. But in this material world, it becomes this body. It doesn't become it, but it identifies with this body, which is so embarrassing, so awkward, and so uncomfortable. Diseases, all these things are there. Another explanation is it is perverted reflection. We have got experience of the Urdhva Moolam on the bank of a river or the bank of a pond, tree standing, but the reflection. We find that the same tree has become Urdhva Moolam. And Adhashaka. So by this statement, Krishna says that this is not real. That reflection in the water of the tree is not real. Real tree is up. Similarly, real enjoyment, real varieties, right? We were just talking about this. Everything is in the spiritual world. Like, a person enjoying the reflection tree cannot actually realize that there could be something real, that's three-dimensional, that you can sit on. You can actually sit on that tree, on these branches. In the same way, when in this material world, we cannot realize the real enjoyment of the spiritual world. But that enjoyment is so great and so wonderful. Similarly, the real enjoyment, real varieties, everything in the spiritual world, it is simply reflection. It is not fact. Therefore, our material enjoyment here is called Maya or illusion. Prabhupada says so nice. This is illusion because it is that which is not. Right? Maya can mean unreality, like the Mayavadis misinterpret it, but Maya actually means to misidentify, to misrepresent, to misunderstand the body to be the soul. That is Maya. That which is not. So here we go. These are your questions being answered. In what sense is a reflection, the material world, unreal? How does one cut down this unreal tree? Krishna says, Ardhena Chitva, by the strong weapon of detachment. We cut down this tree with the strong weapon of detachment, and then once we reach the spiritual world, we throw away the axe. That axe that we use to come to the spiritual world, the axe of detachment, we use it for the journey, but once we're there, we throw it away. We don't need it anymore. We just become very super attached to Krishna. Okay, so I think this is actually a nice place to end. It's 8 o'clock. We have just 5 minutes left. So there are quite a few hands that have come up. If there's any questions, we can take those questions now. Yes, Divya Bhakti Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the wonderful class. I still feel unclear on what Urdhva Mula means. Could you please explain
Yes.
maybe in a different way?
Yes, definitely. We
Thank
can.
you.
Let's here. I'll go to the chapter. We can. Yes, this is a good question. This is the theme. Here Krishna says, this is the verse. It says, Sri Bhagavan Vacha, Urdhva Moolam. This is the first two words of this verse. It's like defining the material world. It's saying with the roots upward. So roots upward means, so when you have a reflection, right? And let's say you're looking at the reflection from the other side of the river. So on one side is a tree. We are standing on the other side of the river, and the reflection is being reflected on the tree. So if you're seeing the reflection in this proper way, this is the way to see the reflection because you can't look through the tree. Then where will the roots be in the reflection? The roots will be on the top, right? In the reflection, the leaves are on the bottom and the roots are on the top. So this is what Urdhva Mula means, that the roots are above, which is saying it's an upside down world. And Prabhupada was giving that example so nicely in his lecture, that imagine someone takes you by the legs and holds you upside down, like we do little kids, right? When we sometimes playing with them, we hold them by the legs and their head is down, is dangling. Well, they can do it for a few minutes and it's very fun. But after 5 minutes, they'll start crying, they're screaming, put me straight, put me straight. So it's a very awkward situation when things are upside down. So roots upward means, upside down means that in this world, the love, the highest thing, becomes lust. That's upside down. Relationships that are meant to give us pleasure give us pain. Right? The soul, which is eternal, thinks that it is temporary. So everything is opposite. We are eternal, but we think we're temporary. Similarly, we gave the example of Rasa Lila, that the loving exchange between Krishna and the gopis, that becomes perverted in this world as the exchange between some man and woman, right? So this is roots upward. Was there something else, some other aspect of it that didn't make sense? No?
No, thank you. That made it clear to me now. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji, very much. Yes. Vijay Nrsimha Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for this class. My question was about the Vedic hymns. If you can reflect a little bit on that, does it mean the Vedic hymns in a negative connotation here, meaning it's something holding us back? Because usually we associate the Vedas as something that will help liberate us, but is it meaning in a negative way here?
Yes, Prabhu. So Krishna says in the Gita to Arjuna, right? The flowery words of the Vedas. Or Arjuna, rise above the flowery words of the Vedas. Sarvasya chaham hridi sanmishto matasmriti jnana bohanam cha vedaisya sarvair ahameva vedyo vedanta krit veda vid eva chaha. At the same time, he is saying that I am the goal of the Vedas. So he's telling Arjuna that don't get entangled in the flowery words of the Vedas. Rather, focus on the goal of the Vedas, which is me. And what are those flowery words? He says the flowery words are all the different sacrifices, all the different paths by which we can get material prosperity in this world. And that's the fruits, right? The fruits of the tree were what? They were the fruit of actions. Because we, in our state right now in Kali Yuga, we don't access those sections of the Vedas because we don't have interest in them. But imagine if you knew all the codes, so to say, of getting anything that you wanted, right? Just like we were just talking recently with Maharaj that he was saying how there's people in the forests in a particular place where they have the cure for cancer, or they can put a leaf on your tooth and it pulls out all the bugs, all the bacteria in your teeth, it cleans them out. So similarly, Prabhupada is this morning in the lecture saying that if you want, a very good wife, you worship Parvati. If you want, power, you worship Indra. So if you had methodologies by which you could become extremely powerful, extremely successful, then you would be attracted by them, right? Just like in this world, if we have different pathways of being very successful, go to Harvard, study here, do this degree, so we become attracted by that, fully engaged and entangled in it. Well, in terms of Vedic culture, it was the hymns of the Vedas, where they are meant for upliftment, but they could become a great entanglement because we lose the forest for the trees, right? The individual rituals will become all in all as means of gaining power, gaining great spiritual and material strength. And that's why following the Vedic rituals can be material if done in of itself. We can lose the goal of the Vedas. Vedaisya sarvair ahameva vedyo. We can forget that Krishna is the benefactor of all Vedas. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yashoda Vatsala, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much. On that roots question, I was just trying to reflect. Please correct me. I might be just. So I was thinking like these roots, they are the reason for nourishment of the tree. And the pleasure, should if the roots are down,
Hmm.
the the pleasure, the real pleasure that we get will take us up. But since these roots are themselves up, which is giving us the pain, as you said, instead of the real pleasure, it's taking us down,
Hmm.
feeding to the branches.
Hmm.
I don't know. Oh, could you please correct me, Hare Krishna?
No, you described it very nicely. If I understood you correctly, you're describing this tree, right? And
Yes.
and the different aspects of it. So yeah, that was a nice way to describe it. Did you have any specific issue regarding that, or just in general you wanted clarification on it?
Yeah, Prabhuji, like, the point here is I'm trying to enjoy something from a different way,
That
and
is,
that is because of my, that feeds
thank-
my rather suffering more.
yes, yes, we try to enjoy the banyan tree, and rather we become more entangled. The reflection banyan tree, especially, we become more entangled, and we get misled, we get frustrated because it is so vast but so elusive and difficult to ascertain. Thank you. Sakhi Sundari Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for wonderful class. Thank you. Prabhuji, I'm pretty good for all topics, but in starting you mentioned about that we need to read we need to memorize the all 15 chapter of the shlokas. So how to memorize the all shlokas? Because whenever I'm like memorize the shloka, then again I forget. So what to do? Can you give me some tips so I can memorize the whole shlokas?
Yes. So for the Bhakti Shastri course itself, we don't need to memorize all the entire 15th chapter. We have a list of about 60 verses, a few verses from each chapter that are very important that Srila Prabhupada quoted very often. Now, how to memorize? Memorize is sometimes the hardest thing. It is definitely. Thing that I saw that worked with the kids, we were trying to get them, and then they attended one class, and the teacher was doing it like this, worked really well, um, is uh, is just because then it's really fun for them also. That once we learn them, so like you're saying, we learn them, but then we forget them, right? We learn them, but then how to keep it alive is to learn them and then make a list and to recite them every day, right? If we recite them every day, then if we remembered them the day before, then we'll remember them the next day. Problem becomes, and same thing with me also, is that we learn them and then for 3 months we don't see those verses ever, and we forget about them. But the children, they just recite them every day, even while they're walking or playing. Urdhvamulam Shakam, like, and they enjoy it. It's like a anthem. And similarly, we can also do that. And it's so easy to find time to do that because we can be driving and we're just reciting the verses. But first, of course, we have to learn it so that we can do it easily. But once we know them, then it becomes very easy, very fun to maintain it. We just, from time to time, we just have to, in our mind, go through and recite them. The starting is hard. Yes.
That's really hard. And Prabhuji, one more question about that. Like last week you completed chapters 14. So which shlokas are important there so we can memorize?
So actually, I've been forgetting. I need to share the homework with you. We did share it before, and I think it was long before. So time to time, we have to share it again. In the homework, you have the homework questions, and then also you'll have the verses from that chapter that are required for memorization.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Very nice questions. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, Prabhu. There's also a verse memorization doc that has been shared in the group. I can share that again. That's just the ones that you need to do for this course.
Wonderful. That's even better now. You have that. Thank you. Thank you, Mataji, for doing that. Rashmi Mataji is very helpful and she's looking over these things. Vimala Bhakti Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. So, with the Udhar Mula, that shloka, so what my understanding is that when we are talking about the perverted reflection of the tree, the top, the root are the Satyaloka. As we go up, we go towards the original tree, or we can think about that maybe we can move forward. We are moving forward. Is it right? So the lower we are, our senses or our consciousness, we are more into the tamogun, or then we go to the rajogun, or maybe on the top if we reach, because that's what it shows, that Brahma
Yes.
Loka is on the top, right?
Yes, yes, and that's true what you're saying, but sometimes being in the mode of goodness can be more entangling than even passion and ignorance. Just like sometimes people who are deeply in the motives of passion and ignorance, they're eating meat and all these things, they meet the devotees and their life changes and they become very advanced. Other times you have people also, who are not devotees and they're into new age things, very much into the mode of goodness, peaceful, all these things. But they have no interest for the real practice of spiritual life. They're just doing something superficial, something on my meditation, your meditation, my peace, like that. So, yes, we can move up to move into the mode of goodness, but that by itself doesn't necessarily mean that we will be moving faster in spiritual life.
So in that sense, when we are seeing the perverted, the topmost is the Brahmaloka or Satyaloka. So is it the original tree starts from there?
I mean, the original tree is a spiritual world.
Yeah.
And the top, I mean, no, somewhere in that reflection tree is Brahmalok. So it's not right on the top because that's the bottom. Right? That's the base. The base is kind of the bottom of the tree. And yeah, the reflection tree, that's the highest. So yeah, maybe Brahmalok is kind of situated there. But we have to understand that this is not a literal example. This is a metaphor. Right?
Yeah.
So Brahmalok is not exactly sitting in a tree. It is just a metaphor describing in the material world how we become entangled and we fall into this material world more and more.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Okay, so I think we got all the questions. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining and your kind attention. We will recontinue next week. We'll finish this chapter next week. And I look forward to seeing all of you again. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you so
Krishna.
much,
Thank
Hare
you
Prabhuji.
so
Hare
much,
Krishna,
Krishna.
Prabhu.
Dandavat
Dandapranam,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.